Welcome to Canberra
Metalheads.
Season 1.
The Archives. Alright, let's kick it.
We've got Calum here from Honest Crooks. How's it going, Calum?
Great.
Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, homie.
It's great to be here.
Obviously, you represent the entire band. I mean, how many members have you got?
There's 5 of us.
5 of you in total?
Standard 2 guitarists, drummer, bass, vocals.
Yep. No, it's cool. You can really hear that dynamic with the band. I mean, you guys are obviously, you can hear the intro track there. There's plenty of slams and really cool breakdowns and things like that. How was it recording that kind of music and things like that? The dynamic sounds fairly broad.
Well, we've all got different genres that we listen to. I guess I've kind of been raised on black metal, like more death metal. But then in my later teens, it got into like more hardcore. And then the other boys, they're predominantly into like deathcore and hardcore. So it's kind of a mix of all of that combined. Not that song in particular, but a lot of the songs on Suffer have a lot of black metal influence. Lots of like discord and blast beats and like high shrieking vocals.
Yep.
But then it will go right into like guttural death metal slam.
That's the kind of diversity I love.
Yeah. And we wanted to do something a bit different that everyone else was doing at the time. Yep. And yeah, it was great. I mean, back to how we were recording it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It's good to get off track sometimes.
Yeah. We did the vocals at the Brain in Sydney with Clayton.
Yep.
He's an absolute wizard with what he does. He made Jerry like completely pop. I'm pretty sure there was like 32 tracks of vocals, like all layers. And
that's insane.
Yeah. There's 3 guest vocalists on the EP.
Yep.
So, because I recorded the instruments and the MIDI drums and all that.
Yep.
I remember when I pulled it into Cubase, I had the original 20 odd tracks that I had, and then it got up to like 60 something. Like when I added the vocals in.
Yeah.
It was pretty insane. But that's how we do most of our stuff is I'll jot around with ideas, and then the other boys will have their input. I'll send it to them.
Yep.
We kind of send them back and forth. I'll write the MIDI drums, and then I'll send it to Jesse, the drummer, and he'll edit them how he wants the sound, and then he'll send it back. But the other boys have input, but generally I'll start and finish that process.
Yeah. So you've got like a fairly large input to a lot of the writing and recording process by the sound of it.
On Suffer, definitely. Like I wrote most of it. Most of the songs I wrote in a couple of hours, and then sent them off. But there was so many changes after.
Yeah.
Where the boys were like, they could be better if you did this.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then there's a couple of times they came down to Canberra and we worked on them together.
Mm-hmm. And
some of them changed, a decent amount.
Yeah.
But some of them stayed pretty much the same as the original vision that I had.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like we were saying off air before, that sometimes you butt heads when you're writing.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
It usually brings it out.
Yeah. If there's a lot of visions, everyone wants the song to sound a different way.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need to go straight forward and just do it. Which is a problem that we sometimes have, but we get around it, and sometimes it works really well, where I might have my vision, which is like a black metal orchestral masterpiece of black beats and blast beats and all of that. Then the other boys want to do like more two-steppy, hardcore.
Yeah.
But then it combines together and it turns into this whole complete new genre.
Yeah, which is wicked.
Hasn't been done in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very unique sound. Like, I think that it sort of goes to show the influences from the other bands. Like you said, you've got hardcore influences and things like that. But it's good to finally find, like, you can tell with the album that we just played, that you found that middle ground where everybody can sort of meet on that street, where this is where black metal meets, you know, your other influences, produces such unique sound, like you said, and something that Australian metal has very little to no similar sounds to that.
Yeah, it's really dope, as you guys heard from the intro, but that was wicked.
Cool.
Thank you.
You've got so you're based in Canberra, obviously.
Yes.
And we were talking earlier off air that you're the only member in Canberra. Where are the other members based?
So I'll tell a little backstory of how this all
definitely
came about. I was in an old band called Bankrupt. There's just kind of this local. It was a local Canberra.
That's my title too.
Bankrupt.
His bank title.
We're kind of traders, black tongue. It was like heavy, like down tempo deathcore.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't really listen to that genre anymore, but it was fun at the time to whack on a balaclava, like, you know, 7/8 string guitar and drop Z, you know. Anyway, so we're doing that, and then we're supposed to play a couple shows on Honest Crooks, but they lost one of their guitarists round about the same like couple weeks that we broke up. So we're like, well, I may as well, you know, I'll play that show.
Yep.
They were going to play a Liverpool show. Like Bankrupt, I don't think we were supposed to be on that show, but Honest Crooks were looking for guitarists to fill in. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm not doing anything that weekend.
Cool.
And then it's now, 3.5 years later? I'm still in the band.
Still going.
That's the longest fill-in.
Just that stalker that never went away.
Pretty much.
Well, you definitely add a great dynamic to the band.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good. Sometimes things like that just happen by chance, and it actually becomes such a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
We've spoke to some bands on the show before already that have had members join similarly to that, where basically they may be playing a support or playing on a bill with that band, and thought like, hey, you know, that's a cool band. Like, it's just cool how things like that happen organically and it creates such a good sound. Yeah.
So the rest of the boys, they're actually based in Tamworth. And, well, one guitarist in Sydney now. We got a new guitarist.
Okay.
Who's not that new. He's like a year and a half, 2 years old.
Yeah,
newer than me.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
And we also got a newer singer.
Yep.
Jerry, he sang on Suffer.
Yep.
And he also sang on 2 singles before.
Okay.
But before we had a singer from Tamworth, but Jerry's from Glen Innes, which is about, I think, 2 or 3 hours past Tamworth.
Okay.
And Tamworth is about a 9.5 hour drive from here, and then Glen Innes is an extra 2-3 hours after that. So there's about 13 hours when he's there. There's 13 hours between members.
That's
wow,
crazy.
And it's insane.
So how do you guys trade ideas, and do you just write something and then just send it over
online? Recently we've been making use of Facebook Messenger video chat. And like I'll have my computer screen or my TV in front of me with all my recording gear, and then I'll have like my phone just sitting on top, just filming what I'm doing.
It's actually cool that technology can actually help so much now, that especially with such a split band.
It's like those old Skype interviews where you don't wear your pants, just a shirt and stuff while doing the interview. You're sitting there like in your t-shirt and stuff, and then underneath you're just like wearing nothing while we're doing these sick guitar things.
But we recently, because we're recording a single next week.
Okay.
Or the pre-production starting. But I've already, because this one is a bit different. Writing process. Louis, the bass player. He wrote a song, like a complete song. But there was one riff that really stood out for me, so I decided to write around that riff, and it took me ages to get it. Not the riff itself. The riff was pretty simple, but to get my head around the direction of where the song could go, because it's not something I would write, so I didn't have any ideas for it. There's no vision for it, because I had no idea where I could move it to. But I just worked on it, and then I had to change the scale I was writing in, because that riff was different, but I liked the riff, so I wanted to work around it.
You wanted to do it justice.
Yeah.
It's like being given half a canvas painting and
you've got to finish it. And then Jerry, the singer, he was like, "Oh, just call me. We'll talk about it." So we spent maybe 5 or 6 hours over a week, like an hour at a time. I'd be just sitting there playing, we'd be sending it back and forth, and then he was like, nah, and then all right, we'll change it.
Yeah.
Like we'll just keep,
Yeah.
keep changing it until it's good, and we got a good product, but we're still gonna change it more.
Yeah.
In the this weekend when we record it, we'll be doing it with a producer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say who it is, but we're doing it with a producer, and then we'll be working on it with him.
Yeah.
And then he can take the vision that is now from many people, but somehow it's working, and he'll make that better.
Yeah.
Like, that's his job. So
It's good. It's good where someone that might not necessarily be. So you mentioned like a potential opportunity for a producer that you'll be working with there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good to see that there's members that aren't in the band or people that aren't in the band that can potentially influence how you guys sound, and and without realizing, you may have influences from other bands because that producer's worked with other massive bands, or other similar sounds or even different sounds.
Yeah, well, we went with him because there's lots of bands that he's worked with, which we look up to.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to work with him.
Yeah.
But I know he's going to work wonders, because I've seen what he's done with these other bands' songs.
Yeah.
And just the way he records is immaculate, in our opinion. So that's what we want to pursue, and we will be doing an album after this single. We've already started working on it. We've got, I don't know how many songs ready. Well, none are really ready, but we've got lots of songs that are in pieces.
Ready to roll.
Stuff to go. And he'll do that. He'll help us map those out and help us push that direction, in that direction.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's also to have that guidance as well, which you may not necessarily pick up at first, but then eventually you just see where it takes you, and you can produce awesome stuff that way.
Mm-hmm.
We're just listening earlier to your Suffer album, and we noticed on that, you can tell us more about the special guest we had there with Jord from Disentombed.
Yeah, he's I don't even know how that came about, but I think Louis, the bass player of Honest Crooks, we've all been like huge fans of Disentombed for a long time, and I would say that they're a big influence on us. We've always said, we've been said by a lot of different people, a lot of publications and so on and so forth, that we're currently the heaviest band in Australia.
Yeah, right.
But we can never take that title when there's bands like Disentombed still active in the country.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like we feel that we can be a contender. It's a different genre, but they are that band they're just insanely heavy. Every second of that album of Misery is just chaos.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful chaos.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. There you go. Perfect album review. There's beautiful chaos.
But he features on the song Bone Crusher.
Yeah.
And he's just, his gutturals on that are insane. And I was saying off air before, we played a show in Brisbane on that last Suffer tour.
Yep.
And the room was packed. It was like, I can't remember how many people were there, but it was between like 250 and 350, I think.
Yeah, it's a good tight crowd, man.
Yeah, it was a big crowd.
Yeah.
And that was the tour to promote the album release.
Okay.
And I had a few guitar problems, and I was kind of off the side of the stage, like still playing, but
dealing with that. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then I got to that bit, and then it never occurred to me that this is where Jaw's from. This is where Disentombed are from. They're from Brisbane.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that he would actually be at the show. But at the corner of my eye, I just see this huge, big, burly figure. And then I heard the gutturals of hell. And I realised who I was sharing the stage with. And it was pretty cool.
It must have felt like such a sweet honour.
Yeah, and he's not only not only did he feature, he's also a fan.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Having him on your album is sort of like you're paying homage to say that basically, we're a heavy band, but we also respect the other Australian heavy bands as well. And it's kind of that good cross-pollination.
Yeah.
Which, like, to be honest, I mean, what a great combination. Yeah, and it's always good to see awesome bands like you guys and Disentombed come together to create something so great.
Mm-hmm. We'll always pay homage to our predecessors.
Yep.
because there's a lot of big names in the Australian metal and Australian hardcore scene that
There's so
that
many.
we look up to.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate that we've become friends, like good personal friends as well, of a lot of the bands that we used to look up to as kids.
Yeah.
And now we're sharing the stage with them, and
Yeah.
we got a couple of things that I can't really talk about yet, but things we're announcing of bands that I've been listening to since before high school,
Yeah, that's
where
wicked.
we'll be doing full tours, and
Yeah.
I think that's pretty insane, like the way it's gone.
Yeah, that's so humbling as well to be across all that. I mean, look, I just get humbled sometimes, like seeing bands in person that I used to listen to on CD. So I can't imagine what it'd be like sharing stages with them.
Yeah, that's so wicked.
But yeah, we'll definitely have to keep our ears to the ground for any upcoming announcements from you guys, because I'm interested to see the direction of the band and where you guys are heading, especially with such an awesome sound. So
yeah, so make sure that you follow them on Facebook and all the social media as well to keep your ears to the ground.
Yeah, do that. We use Instagram and Facebook, and we use Twitter for posting. That's it.
Yeah. So it's always great to have cross pollination, and also so many. You can have those bands as influences, but also have them featuring. I mean, it's always good to have.
So apart from Disentombed, like, do you have any other influences to the band?
Well, I touched on it before, saying that we've all got our own little piece.
Yeah.
That we listen to, our own little styles and influences. Like my personal ones is I grew up on, I guess like every metalhead growing up in the like a 90s child metalhead usually will get it off one of their parents, and it will be like anything from like Bon Jovi, Alice Cooper, Led Zeppelin,
Black Sabbath,
Metallica,
Iron Maiden.
Yeah, so that was what my dad was into, and
the old school rockheads.
To his credit, he's now into like Parkway, and
right.
he's in a metalcore now. Devil Driver. It's weird. It's very weird. But yeah,
right on.
So I guess that's what I was brought up on, and then when I was 11, I got into like Cradle of Filth, and then I kind of went down to the more proper black metal.
Yeah.
The true black metal.
The true cult.
The white makeup with black eyes.
Is what I wish I could be. But, it's not really an accepted thing anymore. So I'm into that, black metal, death metal. And then as I kind of got a bit older, hardcore was a big thing in Australia at the time.
Yeah.
I was in a couple of like smaller hardcore bands. It was just the scene, I guess. Like you were at a local show, there wasn't many death metal shows for 14, 15-year-olds because they were all in an overage venue.
Yep.
But hardcore shows were always at youth centres.
Yeah.
So we all grew up on going to hardcore shows because it was a very big youth community.
Yeah.
And that's where that influence comes from.
I think that helped shape the sound of Australian metal as it is now, because particularly in the under 30s age bracket now, a lot of us grew up with that range of show.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Well, it's like anything, you got to have something a little bit before we get to the original core of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see the waves that have changed Australian metal over the years, and I think that hardcore's probably been the biggest influence of the current sound.
Yeah, right now, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was surprised. Like when I went back to England for 8 months, I couldn't find any like metal anywhere or just anything. Like it doesn't matter what genre it is, but like as soon as you come back into Australia, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
like it is everywhere, and it's brilliant.
Definitely, and there's venues like the Basement.
Yep.
In Belconnen, there's like Crowbar in Brisbane. There's nightclubs like Hot Damn, Bang. Well, a couple of them aren't running anymore, but Destroy Lines, like entertainment companies that run their own nightclubs.
Yep.
They'll have it once a month or whatever, every 2 weeks or whatever it is, and that night is just devoted to metal, like heavier music. It might be like, not great kind of Rise Records, Woe Is Me, whatever,
but it's still something.
It's still alternative music, and it's almost a gateway for kids that have never been exposed to this music to then branch out to other things.
Yeah, that's it.
Because we've noticed now that a lot of our fan base isn't just like hardcore kids and metalheads, because I did touch on that before. off air, that we're now seeing people like slam dance at our shows, and like usually we're used to like crowd killing and people just belting each other and throwing fists and spin kicks and all that, which is
fun stuff.
It's sick. But then we're now getting like metalheads come to our shows, and they're the ones that are like circle pitting and push pitting and like slam dancing where they look like crabs, and it's kind of cool.
It's cool to see that, like, when you can change the sound of your music slightly to get that variant in crowd types as well. So you can kind of feed off your crowd as well as influence them, as well as, like, we've said before on the show, seeing the crowd get into a track or really sort of start moshing or dancing or whatever it is they choose to do can also influence how you guys produce the music as well.
Yes. We have always said that we just want to be as heavy as possible and write bangers that you can move to. You can bang your head to.
You definitely write some bangers.
And just build each other. we don't promote violence. At the same time, it comes with the music.
Well, see, it's like, we're not violent. Like, if you fall down in the pit, everyone stops and picks you up.
Everyone will pick you up.
Like, you're just there to, like, have fun, jump around, and you don't have to, like, worry about your safety, because you know everyone else there is going to look after you. Like, even the scariest looking dude in there, like, will stop everything to pick you up. If you've lost your hat or whatever you've had on you, your phone's dropped, they'll pick it up and they'll give it to you back, and then you just go back into it, man. That's what's great about this scene.
I sometimes reference it to like WWE. Like, everyone, they're all hitting each other. Like, they'll get like big bins and throw them at each other, tables, whatever. It doesn't matter. There is people that do extreme things, but it's all for the fun of it. It's not with intent. Well, generally it's not with the intent to harm. It's just the intent to put on it's drama. It's drama.
It's just let loose.
And it's cool. It's fun.
But like we were saying, everyone looks after each other. At the show, and that's the great thing about this scene, and that's one of the reasons why I love it so much.
Definitely. You can have violent themes without actually producing violent movements. So like, you can be dancing and you can be sort of moshing and things like that, and actually lead to not damaging anybody or everyone just having a good time. So it's not so much what it physically looks like, but it's the intent is still good.
It's the whole never judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. Every person, well, I wouldn't say everyone, but 99% of the metal and hardcore community are lovable teddy bears. And there's that 1% that make everyone else look bad, but that comes with any...
That comes with anything. Honestly, I think metalheads have the nicest scene out of everyone.
I think we have, to be honest, all in all, the lowest percentage of drama. I mean, like, working in the scene for the number of years that I have, you see that, in fact, some of the heavier nights is where you have the least amount of dramas. Like, I've been to a few hip hop shows, and I've seen people in the crowds get hurt and stuff, and the artists, they don't stop it or anything, they keep going. And I've been to metal gigs where, like, one person's fallen over and they've hurt themselves really badly, and like the band stops until that person's helped, and like they've got, like, moved the crowd out of the way so the like the ambulance people can get in there and help them bring them out, which is great.
Definitely.
Nice. It's such a good reflection on the scene when you see things like that. And from the outside looking in, a lot of the time, sometimes the perception is that it's everybody's
scary.
Everybody's going to be difficult to deal with and things like that, but it's like, at the end of the day, we're all just people too, and to be honest, some of the nicest people I've met as honestly.
Well. So don't be scared to talk to us just because we look scary.
Exactly. All right, so you spoke about some like gigs that you've had in the past, and a few different lineups that you've been on. Out of all those, I mean, you've been in the band now for, you said, 3 years. What's been your most memorable gig so far?
I'd say we're lucky enough to be put on Invasion Fest last year. And that was the biggest cap room we've ever played. It was Arrow and Swanson in Melbourne. And I think it was 1,000 capacity. Or like 1,200 or something. And it was sold out.
Wow.
And we were fairly early in the day, I think, because this was it was last year. We're still fairly new to the whole kind of bigger show scene. Now we've had our fair share of like bigger tours, but at the point we'd never really done any major like support tours or anything, or we'd always really supported like local Canberra or, you know, different areas, but but this was the Acacia Strain as the headlining band. If you know them, they're world renowned for being incredibly heavy. And then Kublai Khan, and then it was pretty much every band on the bill was an Australian icon. Like every band, it was very mixed bill, so it went from like pop punk and like easy core stuff, like kind of emo grunge to we were the heaviest band on the bill. And people were saying, it might sound a bit arrogant, but people were saying that we had the best set of the day, which was very humbling.
That's more so just feedback than you know anything. Like you can only really tell what people have told you. There's nothing bad about that.
I know we're on air talking about it, and it's what I'm here to talk about. But generally I don't like talking about my band because I know we're doing good things, but I don't want to sound arrogant talking about it.
That's fine, man. That's such a good reflection on yourself and the band as well, though, because it sort of shows, and like how we've learnt from interviewing band members, a lot of people look up to people on the stage as like, you know, this massive thing. It's just like, we're all people, we're all just doing our thing, and it's so cool. This is like part of the reason I love doing interviews, because everybody just learns more about the band and the members that you might not necessarily have known.
So it's funny, like when you guys are up on stage, we're in the crowd going like, holy, it's those guys, they're up on stage, and then they're like, oh my god, we're on stage.
Pretty much. But at Invasion Fest, we played, because Acacia Strain did a tour of Australia, and we did the Canberra show the night before, and then we had a very drunken overnight drive. Obviously not drink driving, talking to the people in the back of the van. I was that cold. Won't say why.
I don't think we need to say anymore.
No. And then
it was a hairy trip, let's say that.
Lots of water was needed the next day.
Yes, definitely.
Water and Macca's.
We played the Canberra show, and then we got there. The venue was huge. Like, ordered in, there's all these famous people walking about, like, because as it is the Invasion Fest. And we opened up. Our first song was the song Slam City, which is not on Suffer. It was just a 2-minute track that I wrote as a joke, and it was 2 riffs, and then it just slows down and slows down again, and it just becomes the heaviest song in existence, and that's what I wanted to write. But we played that. I'm pretty sure we played that first, and as soon as we started playing it, the whole room just erupted into this big pit. Just opened up, 1,000 people or whatever it was, like 900 people in the room, completely spread wall to wall, just pitting. And this video is like on a Facebook page of it somewhere. We've used it in promos before because it was just so cool watching. That was insane. There's people like crowd surfing and like stage diving and
really getting
all
into
that
it.
Stuff. Like
I think that moshing has different levels, and once you enter the stage diving and crowd surfing level, you've kind of hit that elite sort of like level of crowd. So
all our crowds have been fantastic. We did that last tour. Like every show was either very close to selling out or did sell out, with the exception of Adelaide. But we love Adelaide. We love our fans in Adelaide. Every time we play there, it's fantastic. And they've got the best pit styles. And their pitting culture is very good. But it's there's so many things to do, so I guess not everyone comes out, which is it's fair enough. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's another show on that night anyway.
It's kind of a good reason, if any, to not sell out, the fact that area has so many options available. I mean, you've probably seen your fair share of shows where that's the biggest thing for the next few weeks, and that's why it's so busy. And I always find that the crowds there are different again. We've spoken to interviewed bands in the past where they've played for like a smaller number of people, but it's like if the energy's just there, and like even if you only have a smaller crowd, And to be honest, like on the scale that you're talking about, you mentioned smaller crowd. That's probably like close to sell out anyway, just because it didn't sell out. You guys are like still pulling a massive crowd.
It was over 100, but it was like. So it's just good to see. It's not so much the numbers, but it's also how much they get into it. I mean, I'm sure that you'd love to see, even if it's only like a smaller room of people, if they're all getting into it, it just totally raises the ambience. Absolutely.
Yeah, if the atmosphere is good, like it just makes it so much better.
We want to do a regional tour in the next year, because we used to do them all the time.
Yeah.
Because it was one of our, not business plans, but kind of plans of action.
Yeah, like a goal.
Yeah, where you do regional towns, and then when you play the big cities, kids from these regional towns will travel to see you.
Yeah.
Like we'll play like Newcastle, and there'll be people travelling from the Central Coast going up. There'll be people coming from Tamworth coming down. That's like 4 hours drive.
Yep.
And anywhere in between, like Muswellbrook, Singleton, kids come and watch us. As far as like Taree. Very humbling. In Sydney, there was guys, I think they're from Indonesia.
Yeah, right.
They flew over for the weekend.
Oh, rad.
Like,
that's pretty cool.
There's like 4 or 5 of them, they didn't speak English very well, and like we all signed things for them, and it's like
shout out to those guys.
I've actually heard that Indo crowds go crazy, man.
We want to do it eventually.
I've actually heard that, because I wasn't aware of that until I actually recently spoke to a member of the band that had the opportunity to tour there, or to play a couple of shows there, and sort of got on the subject of like, what's the Indonesian crowd like? He's like, crazy,
insane.
Yeah. And that goes to show, I mean, if they're willing to fly to Sydney for a gig, I mean, that's a good example of their devotion to it.
Definitely. And yeah, I mean, we've had really good fans pretty much wherever we go. Brisbane, they love their deathcore. Yeah. So it's all the deathcore kids coming in. Like the pits are wild up there. And same with Melbourne. Melbourne's more like hardcore kids. Yeah. And Sydney is like, they've got the kind of lad hardcore scene where you don't know if you're gonna get like robbed at the train station or like if they're going to a show.
Exactly.
But they're really nice guys. It's just you know.
Yeah, it's great when you just see someone where you're like, oh, dude, I'm not really sure whether that guy is going to cause me any trouble or stuff. And he sort of comes over and he's only looking at you because he wants to buy some merch.
Yeah. Or like they're checking out your patch jacket. They like come up to you very like, because they're like looking at you like, oh yeah, what's it? What band's he got? And you're thinking, oh god, here we go. This is it. I'm gonna die. But,
Ben and I were in at Coles a couple of weeks ago, and a guy without even knowing, this guy just comes up to us and starts talking about how great the Sepultura gig was that he just came from up in Sydney like a few weeks ago. Just because we're both wearing our jackets, and he sort of initiated that conversation.
I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, and I thought Marky already been talking to this guy for 10 minutes, like gone through the ins and outs, and I was just like kind of just zoned out and zoned back in. And he just started off the conversation as if he was having a conversation with like someone he knew so well, and like they were halfway through a conversation. I was just like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, so we're like walking away, Ben's just like, oh, so how do you know that dude you work with? And I'm just like, nope.
You just started talking to me, and I was like, but like he was talking as if you've been mates for like 20 years. He was like, yeah.
And
that's the metal scene, you know?
Yeah, you say that all the time, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you go out and you're both wearing the same band shirt or something, that could be something that would spark a friendship that lasts for decades.
Well, that was it. Like we went into JB the other day, and this guy, because I've been going in there a few times recently, and he was like, oh yeah, man, like this is the one time I didn't wear my patch jacket, and he was like, yeah, dude, I recognize you from your patch jacket. You're the guy with this massive back patch and all these other things on. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, thanks, dude. Here's a card.
It's kind of like a billboard of what music they can try and sell you. So like while we're there, he's just like, oh, by the way, Ghost just put this album out if you're interested.
How are you enjoying being on the show so far, man?
I'm loving it. I was saying that the other boys, like Louis, the bass player, he handles a lot of the management. Yep. And he handles all of the social media as well. Well, he handles all of it pretty much. And Jerry, the singer, I guess it just comes with being a singer. Really, you're the kind of the
face.
The front man,
the
yeah.
front of the band. So those two get a lot of attention, both social media wise and in person. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'd rather just write
Yeah, no,
good
that's fair
heavy
enough.
music. I
Yeah,
don't mind if I'm
definitely.
in the background, but
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool, like actually sitting down and doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no one's in
Yeah.
the background. It's just obviously like, you know, it's a different eye to different
Yeah.
people. You know, like a lot of people like lead singers because they're like, oh, it's the lead singer, but then like you find all the guitarists, like they're like, yeah, oh, yeah, what's the guitarist doing? You know what I mean? Type
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
No one really cares, you know what I'm doing.
nah, they do. Man.
I think that what people's interests is like sparked by what member of the band they follow. So like if
That's true.
you're really into your guitars, man, you'll
Yeah.
be following the guitarist.
We do get a lot of those kids.
Yeah.
I get recently, especially, I've been getting half a dozen a day, like a friend request on
Yeah,
Facebook,
yeah.
messages from
Yeah,
kids
wicked.
Just
asking like what gear I'm using or
Oh, right.
how did I record that or just things like that. It's kind of cool. I get kids send me they'll ask me what microphones I'm using,
Yep.
and then they'll be, oh, we did this guitar cover. There was a guy on YouTube that he recorded Imminent Threat, the song that he played
Yep.
first.
Yeah.
He re-recorded everything.
Oh, really?
wow.
With like electric drums.
Oh, really?
Recorded guitar and then
What a
he sung
beast.
over it as well.
Oh, right.
And it wasn't half bad.
Oh,
Like,
nice,
He was
man.
pretty good.
Cool. Like for the people listening out there, I mean, what sort of gear do you use?
I'll go through live. My live rig is about to change dramatically.
Yeah.
But for right now, and this is what I've been using pretty much since the start of the band,
Yep.
is I'm using a Blackstar ID 100 head,
Okay.
which is a digital head, which is great because it's so light and
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
you can fly with it and everything. It's great. I've gone through lots of different guitars, but what I'm using currently, which people laugh at, but I don't care because it's mad. And
They laugh at it and then they're like, "Oh, mind you, that was a good set, man."
I use a BC Rich Warlock.
BC Rich Warlock. I
but-
used to have one of those back in the day. They're a beastly little guitar.
They get a bad rep because BC Rich had a $400 guitar,
Yeah.
and then they also had like a $2,000
Yeah,
guitar.
yeah.
They had like a $5,000, and they all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just they're made of different woods.
Yeah.
And one's like neck through, one's
Yeah.
bolt on, whatever.
Yeah.
So I've got a limited edition BC Rich.
Yeah.
It was only like 100 made or
Yeah,
whatever.
really.
Foiled rose, and it's got a Seymour Duncan Nazgul in the bridge.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
I
sick.
put that in
Yeah.
because
yeah.
I wanted that like very lots of attack when I'm
Yeah,
playing, lots
yeah,
of
yeah.
just heavy gritty sound.
Yeah.
And then as far as pedals go, I just used the very stock standard heavy. I have a noise gate, tube screamer, reverb delay. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And did you use all of those in the recording of the last album?
No.
So that's your live setup, yeah.
that's
Do you
live
have
setup.
like different sort of setup for studio stuff?
Yeah. So when I record just straight DI.
Yep.
And then it's preamp through I'm just using a very, very old, very outdated Line 6 interface.
Okay.
But that will that all those like stems, like the dry signal, they get sent off
Mm-hmm.
and they get mixed and mastered with whoever we choose to finish it off. But for the software process, when I pre-prod everything, I was just like DIing it and then using like free VSTs I found online, but then like running my own gear through it as well,
Okay.
so I could have the actual Honest Crooks tones.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when we send it off, the guy Lance Prank from Melbourne, he's done like he did like Alpha Wolf. What else he done? A lot of the kind of like genty sounding bands.
Okay, yeah.
But we just wanted something like huge sounding, and he nailed it, and he had a very, very tight guitar sound for us, which we wanted.
Yeah, awesome. It's like we were saying before, it's cool to have that dynamic of different artists, producing music, because they can kind of bring that to the table and sometimes change the sound of a band. I mean, it'd be interesting to see like bands that have gone through two different producers but had a similar sound in that time, and then seen the difference in the production of the album. versus the live stage show. But
I always have more respect for bands that can pull off what they're playing. Oh, sorry, what they've recorded is what it sounds like live.
Yeah.
But it's bad and is a downfall for a lot of bands that have a lot of big backing tracks and like click tracks. Like, I'm a fan of click tracks personally. We don't use them, but I think everyone should at least try do it.
Yeah.
Backing tracks, click tracks, it makes you sound so much bigger than you are.
Yeah.
But if you're a band that solely relies on that stuff and then things go wrong, you can't fix it. I won't say the band who they are. We once played with a band in Newcastle, and their click track started playing through the speakers, and they couldn't fix it. Like, there was some problem with their interface, and they couldn't do anything about it. So they had to play their set without backing tracks, and it didn't sound like them anymore.
I'm a very big, critic, I guess. Like, I respect a band a lot more if they sound exactly what they do when they recorded it live.
Definitely,
I've heard some people like criticize some of the really big names, you know, and say like, oh man, seeing them was just like listening to an album, and I kind of wanted a live show. So I've heard some people criticize big live shows and say, man, it was just like just like listening to an album. It's like, that's what you want, man. Like, as long as they're still putting on an actual show, they may have, like, you've seen some shows, I mean, Witch Grinder with that have like pyrotechnics and things like that. I mean, that's always adds that extra level of showmanship. But if you can add that with a sound that sounds as good as an album, I mean, that's definitely not something to complain about. I definitely think that there's a lot of goodness to take out of that when bands can do that.
We don't use any gimmicks, and we always said we don't really want to. There might come a stage where, you know, we might all wear black or something, like just to be a bit more like a unit kind of thing. But we've always said that we don't want a gimmick, that we want people to see us and judge for themselves. Like, you know, we might be dressed in normal clothes, but
that doesn't matter.
We're playing super heavy music. This is what we want to do. We don't want to look over dramatic. We just want to do our thing. But in saying that, Jerry, our singer, he's one thing, like, it probably sounds very biased, but if I wasn't an Honest Crooks, and if you're listening to this, we won't talk about this ever again.
Disclaimer for Jerry.
He is one of the best vocalists in Australia. Like, if I wasn't an Honest Crooks, I would definitely think that. And when
he's got some, as you everyone's heard, he's got some brutal noises that come through that.
And his range, and even since Suffer, the live shows after Suffer, the Suffer tour, he changed his lows again, and he's using different techniques. He's now doing that tunnel throat, like a cattle decap, kind of like tunnel throat, like, and it's insane. Not many people can do that, like, let alone do it as well as what he can. And he's young. He's only 20, 21. So it's like, what he's doing is insane. But I always take the mick out of him because he calls himself the Pit Commander. So he stands like, some vocalists need like a little box to stand on, like an eagle booster kind of thing, make them like larger than life. Jerry just has to look at you and you move. You know what to do. And I get messages from people all the time saying, like, I wasn't gonna pit, I wasn't gonna move, but then like, Jerry,
well, I've noticed,
stands there and does it.
There's a few bands that do that. There's you got Scotty from Terravoris. He gets right in the pit in the crowd, and does. Same with Dave from Inhuman Remnants. Like, being at an Inhuman Remnants gig and just turning around and there's Dave behind you doing those brutal noises. That's some scary stuff, man. And then you got Scotty. He just goes hard in the pit, like, while singing, and like. And it just sounds like amazing still. While like at Heathen Fest, he was getting pushed around and like knocked into, and he's still doing it brutally, man.
Oh, then another one, like, Matt Young from King Parrot, like seeing Youngie in the crowd, man. I was talking to the fellas from King Parrot when they played at the Basement, I think the last time, which would have been a while ago now. Most of the time they're in other venues around Canberra. and they were saying that when they did Soundwave, they could see him just down getting like mauled by everybody, but as long as they could still hear those vocals coming through, they knew he was fine. Like as long as he could still get the mic to his mouth to sing, they knew that he was okay. But yeah, so it's crazy to see. Obviously we spoke about it before with how you can feed off the crowd, and if you have a good front man that hypes the crowd up, just like we spoke about, it definitely makes it all that more enjoyable.
Yeah, but he would be as far as our live show goes. We're pretty unique in how we sound, but at the end of the day, anyone can pick up a guitar, and anyone could pick up my guitar, run it through my gear, and play the exact same songs and sound exactly the same if they know what they're doing. Same with drums, same with bass. But with vocals, you can never get a vocalist that sounds exactly the same. So he's that unique in style, but he's also that unique in presence. He'll be walking back and forth. He'll be pointing. I think it was Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. He said that he always tries to look at the back of the crowd and he makes them feel included just as much as the front.
That's a really good thing.
Jerry doesn't just do that. He makes the people from the back of the crowd punch the people in the front of the crowd.
Go Jerry.
He's very, very good at what he does. He just, as soon as we get on stage, we only play for half an hour at a time, but that's half an hour of just straight energy. Aggression, it's all coming out. It's just, that's what
condense it all into that solid time frame. When it comes to sort of moshing in the crowds and things like that, like you said before, you can train a guitarist to slot into a band and still, like I've heard stories of bands needing to finish a tour and just getting a hired gun in to smash it out.
That's how we got our other guitarist. One of our guitarists left mid-tour and he did the rest and he's still there.
So see, and that also can create good bonds with bands as well. Because I think that adding that extra level of urgency and sort of panic on top, it can change the dynamic of the band, and as much as it can speed up the induction process, so you kind of get to know each other really quick because you have to finish the tour.
Like new gained sort of respect for them as well, because them just coming out of nowhere, having to pull this stuff out of nowhere and being able to do it, and you guys have a lot of confidence in him as well.
He came Sydney, he did Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Canberra. I'm pretty sure that's what he did. But if you've ever driven to Adelaide, it's horrible. And this guy that we don't know that well, I think, I didn't know him well anyway. The boys had maybe stayed with him one or two times. He was Brody, was his name. Booking shows in Sydney. He booked a show a year before, and we'd stayed with him coming through Sydney. We just got to know him. His other band, Honor Minor, they're really cool. And then we just asked him to do the rest of the tour, and then pretty much we knew straight away that he was it, and he still is.
That's wicked, man.
Like you said before, obviously you can have a hired gun to finish a tour and stuff. But I think you sort of touched on this. Your singer, it's not just vocals, it's also you've got a personality there as well.
So that's what you want. You want personality with vocals. You don't want just someone standing there going making these noises and not getting the crowd hyped, because everyone in the band's got a specific thing to do. You guys are playing the music while the vocalist has to get the band hyped, because he's the front man. He's he needs to be jumping around and giving you personality and giving the crowd that effect as well. Because if you're just standing there, sometimes it's cool. Some bands can really put it off well because they've already got such a big sound. But it's definitely that. It's definitely good to have someone with a really good personality. I mean, sometimes it's you butt heads off the stage.
Personalities clash. But at the end of the day, we're a family. We're all best friends, and we all love what we're doing. And if there is a problem, we sort it pretty quickly.
And that's what you want.
That's it. Done. Dusted. Writing, as I said before, writing is a pain in the arse, but we still get through it. It's fine.
Well, that's the main thing. I don't even know if there's any band to existing that has an easy writing period. If they say they do, they're obviously lying.
Or their stuff's so simple that they don't actually. It's not difficult to write. But yeah, no, you've got a couple of tracks that you'd like to play yourself. So, I mean, we'll start off with Justice for the Damned. What's a particular track that you'd like to hear?
Deep Rotting Fear. Can I just say something about them quickly?
Sure.
Right. So, Justice, they're a band that, in our level in the scene, where we've gotten out of that playing local shows, we started to do a few minor tours. Pretty much from the get-go of us doing that, we knew Justice. We were friends with them just by meeting them playing shows. A couple of the members were in different bands that we knew. I think I had the drummer stay at my house in his old band like 4 years ago. Something anyway. But the singer Bobak, he's behind the scenes. He's been helping us out a lot over the last year or so, and they've gotten us some really good shows, and we've played a great tour with them, and we owe a lot of our success to bands like them and them and Alpha Wolf, especially. Like, they've just been helping us out and bringing us up to their tier, which we will soon be in that domain. And I just see it as a big family, extended family.
Well, going back to what we were saying earlier about metalheads just being awesome dudes, like that there in itself shows you, like, even though they're in another band, a bigger band or whatever, and they're still like helping you guys to become something wicked. You know what I mean? And that's just beautiful love there.
Yeah, absolutely. Great band.
That's what we're all about in this scene.
Cool. Well, it's always good to have a story behind bands as well. It helps us understand a little bit more of paint a bit more of a picture about what we're listening to. And adds a bit more personality to the music. We're talking in the break about Exile. You mentioned they're from New Zealand. What sort of stories do you have related to that band?
So, very, very out of the blue, they were on Beatdown Hardware, I think it was. It's like a YouTube promotions page where it's just like all the kind of up and coming beatdowny hardcore bands are on it. And then we're all like really keen on them, and then it turns out that the singer plays guitar in a band that we've all grown up with called Antagonist AD. And then we found out they're from New Zealand. We're like, oh, we need to do something with these guys. Like, this is crazy. And just so happens that they wanted to tour Australia, so we had a tour for the first track you played, Imminent Threat. It was kind of like a release tour. We pretty much just did that tour so we could film a mad music video of Pit compilation. Like, I think in that music video there's like me on a barbecue and it's just mattresses flying everywhere and whatnot.
From what I understand, it was pretty successful.
It was good. It was a good fun tour. Like, that's pretty much, we'd like to film what we're doing and just make dumb videos. But anyway, they came along for that tour, and I can't remember how many dates it was, but every show it was just like Pit Central when they were playing, and they're just mad fun to be around. They're all a bit older, like I don't know how old they are, I guess late 20s, early 30s maybe. But they're all very like adventure seeking people, so we'd go off and, you know, have a day off and do things we probably shouldn't, and they'd be finding the biggest rocks they could jump off into swimming holes and whatnot.
So
they go hiking. But it was so cool. That's their version of touring.
That's wicked though. That's a pretty cool way.
While you're checking out like new interesting places, you may as well experience everything they have to offer.
It's such a New Zealand type of thing to do though. Like, just go hiking and exploring.
But we love to do that with them one day, so we're definitely in the works of doing something with either them or Antagonist AD. Because it's crossing over members, so they're all good friends, and it'd be fun to tour with either band at this point. Like, just Exile are a lot smaller, but they've got that attitude of they just don't care. They're just fun. They just want to do it for the fun. And Antagonist AD, they're a bit bigger, a bit more serious, kind of like production wise. And, but either way, you know, either band you tour with, I reckon you'd still be having to jump off a big high rock or a bridge or something.
It's like initiation of touring with the bands. You need to do that sort of stuff. Well, that's a cool story there as well, and also it's good for the show to have some New Zealand metal as well. I mean, just to mix it up.
It's pretty much Australia. I mean,
exactly. yeah, not far between anyway.
It's only like a couple hours on a plane. I think it's like 4 hours.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Less than that, yeah.
Yeah, which would be good for bands in New Zealand and Australia as well to cross over and do some tours, you know, both in Australia and New Zealand, because it's not actually that much of a stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you mention long car trips over to Adelaide and things, it's like, well, maybe a couple of hour plane ride isn't so bad after all, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we flew to Perth quite recently. That was insane.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just talk about that quickly. We were expecting maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
Because it's our first time in Perth. Like, you don't know what to expect. But I think at the end of the night, it was between 270 and 350. I can't remember the exact figures, but there's a lot of people in there. And it was a nightclub, so you do expect a bit more people coming through, but it was just insane. The response we got, like the crowd reaction we got, the amount of merch we sold, all of that combined, it was just insane. We were in Perth for like 4 days, and they really looked after us. Like they fed us.
That's pretty cool.
They did everything. They gave us drinks, and they did accommodation. They sorted everything for us. Yeah, they definitely look after us.
Yeah.
So
They
Perth
picked us
goes
up.
hard.
Perth goes hard.
Perth goes hard.
If you're a band listening to this and you want to go to Perth, hit up a guy called Lee Reader is his name.
Yeah, cool. It's always it's cool to have those contacts and things, because you build that kind of network over the time. I think that just from what we've spoke to already to other bands, not a lot of options have been explored in that area, like in Perth, and like there's a lot of it sort of this side of Australia is fairly heavily saturated.
Same with Tasmania. We didn't expect a crowd in Tasmania. We got massive reaction there as well. I recommend for bands to do places that you wouldn't think of doing, as well as regional places. As I said before, to bring the kids in, that when you do play that city show, the kids will travel, and they always do.
Yeah.
If you've got that product that they're wanting to buy, they'll definitely travel for it.
Yeah, well, if you're a band thinking of hitting up some regional places, hit up South Coast Metalheads. They can definitely help you out with some touring stuff down at the South Coast.
Yeah. Obviously, we had Heathen Fest last weekend, and that was the feedback from all the bands. Was, especially seeing a band like Autopsy and coastal New South Wales.
Yeah, exactly.
We mentioned in the interview, like, we thought that the chances of us seeing them in anywhere aside from Melbourne, Sydney, or Canberra was pretty much out of the options for now, but to see them pull such a hectic crowd and committed fans in a like coastal area is cool. So
and they were just so taken aware of how well South Coast looked after them. Like the South Coast Metalhead boys, Lukey and Barnsey, they're so well prepared, and they look after all the bands so well. So if you're definitely thinking of going down there, hit South Coast Metalheads up before they hit you up, I'm sure.
Yeah, we could do that. We could probably arrange a regional.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, look, there's always some options there, especially now that we've got those connections with bigger bands like Autopsy and things, and also King Parrot. They had them on one of their bills. So like bands coming up from Melbourne, that's some commitment there. But yeah, so that's all we really got time for today. But it's been awesome coming in and chatting on the show and learning more about Honest Crooks. And obviously, you can't speak on behalf of the entire band. I'm sure they have some of their stories they want to weigh in on and
definitely.
stuff like that.
There's probably stuff that I'll be hit for saying, but that's okay.
Well, if they ever want to clear it up themselves, they're always welcome to come into the studio and tell us their side.
There'll be an album coming out probably. At this stage, it will definitely be next year.
Yeah.
That's something for you guys to keep a listen to.
That goes for anyone out there. If you're a band or a promoter that you'd like to let us know about an upcoming gig or album, EP launch or something like that, definitely hit us up. We're available on social media, on all the usual platforms, and we'll happily give you a shout out on the show if we have an interest in your music or anything like that. You can even hit us up for an interview.
Yeah, definitely. Just try and make sure it's about a week or 2 weeks or even a month before the actual event's happening, just because it makes life a lot easier. It gives us more time to promote it, and gives our viewers who look at us a lot more sort of time to view that and try and make plans for that event.
Yeah, so hit us up on Canberra Metalheads. We're on all social media platforms, and make sure that we have at least a few few weeks' notice, just so we can give you guys the best potential to get some ticket payers through the door. Yeah, so you haven't already liked Honest Crooks on Facebook or social media, definitely head over to their social media accounts and give them a big thumbs up so that you can keep up to date with all of their upcoming releases and opportunities and growth that the band seems to be going through at the moment. So this has been Canberra Metalheads. We've been talking to Calum from Honest Crooks.
Peace.
Keep it metal, guys.
Keep it metal, guys.
Bianca, bam!